Welcome back to the Cycle Starters podcast, where we explore the journey of breaking patterns and starting new cycles in our lineages. I'm your host, Heather Rebecca Wilson, and today I'm thrilled to welcome an incredible guest, Frances Garrido. Frances is a psychotherapist with a profound focus on women's empowerment, relationship transformation, and helping men reconnect emotionally. What began as a career in the nonprofit sector as a life skills coach has evolved into specialized work in love, sex, and relationship therapy, where she integrates somatic practices and mindfulness techniques. As a Filipino immigrant who moved to Canada, Frances brings a unique perspective on cultural identity, belonging, and the complexities of navigating between worlds. She specializes in supporting adults with boundaries, codependency, self esteem, and multicultural concerns. Her work in ancestral healing particularly resonates with our show's mission, helping women break free from generational patterns of overgiving and playing small within their families. Today, we'll explore how these inherited patterns impact our lives and relationships, and how we can heal these wounds to step into our authentic power. In her workshop happening on October 29th, titled What We Carry, What We Release, Frances will guide participants through identifying inherited wounds while honoring the strengths within their lineage, perfectly aligning with the theme of starting new cycles. So before we get into our conversation, I do have a favor to ask. If you are liking the content that we are creating here on the Cycle Starters podcast, please subscribe, comment, and share. It really supports the algorithm to get our content in front of more viewers. So thank you in advance for that. I appreciate your support. And without further ado, let's start our conversation with Frances. Hello, my dear.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
I am so happy that you said yes. I'm really happy to see you. It's been a while since we've connected.
Yes.
I'm so excited for our workshop on the 29th, and I know that we will share more details about that a little deeper into our conversation. Are you in Canada right now?
Yes, I'm in Canada right now. So I'm here in Calgary, Alberta. So we just recently transitioned from summer to fall.
Mm-hmm.
It's close to winter, in my opinion, but fall is fall.
Fall is fall. All right. Well, so let's get into it. So, what can you share with us about your ancestry, your blood ancestors?
Well, I was born and raised in the Philippines, so I'm 100% Filipino. There's lineage of Chinese in my ancestry, but for the most part, I was raised as a traditional Filipino woman, I would say, very conservative in the beginning of my teens, and liberated myself from that conditioning or upbringing. In Canada, I was just really grateful that I have the opportunity to explore that identity without having to be scrutinized by society, because who I became is very common in North America. But if this is me discovering myself back in the Philippines, there's a lot of scrutiny that I would be getting from people. I think that would be the safest word. So yeah, my ancestry is Filipino, Chinese, Spanish. A lot of Filipino folks are mixed with traditionally indigenous people. I cannot verify if I have indigenous roots in my ancestry. What I can only verify is we have Chinese and Spanish just because of how our names are and how we look. I'm very tall and big built for native indigenous Filipino. A typical Filipina is usually short and skinny. I'm very big bone. So that's pretty much my ancestry there.
Okay, nice. Well, so what region in the Philippines did you grow up in?
So I grew up in Manila, Catholic school, all girls Catholic school, elementary and high school, university. I ended up going to a non-secular. But my mom is from the islands. So it's like in the Visayas where the beaches are. So I got the best of both worlds, where I got the busy city life, but I get to have an option to slow down in the province. This is what they call it. It's the countryside, the ocean.
So, is your dad from Manila, or is he also from the Visayas?
My dad is born and raised in Manila. My paternal grandmother is born and raised in Manila, also from the islands. He's coming from the Spanish side. That's where I got the Spanish side. Because when Philippines were discovered by the Spanish, they first entered the Visayas area, which is what they call Cebu, island of Cebu. So from there, they kind of like island hopping, like all the
Mm-hmm.
Spanish came like island hopping. And so that is where my grandfather ended up, or at least his ancestor is, in the neighboring island of Cebu. Then because Manila ended up becoming the capital, or the city of the Philippines, a lot of people from the islands usually venture out in the city to get more, opportunities. And that's how my paternal grandfather and grandmother met. For my mother's side, my maternal grandfather and grandmother, they both met in the islands. So actually, if you look into it, both father and mother's side, my grandparents, great grandparents, women don't have education. So that's kind of how women are just expected to be at home, take care of the family, get pregnant, have kids, all of that. I know my maternal grandma didn't have any education because she had 9 kids, so she's busy, you know.
Yeah.
And then my paternal grandmother, on the other hand, believe she's the first generation who end up getting an education, because my great great grandmother didn't have any formal education. But what they end up having to do is they actually go in what they call like some sort of a fine arts school, where women are taught how to be women, how to keep the house clean, how to sew, all these womanly skills that I was also trained to do growing up, because, being raised in a Catholic school, it's embedded in the curriculum, but I'm never really good at it. So,
Well, thank you for sharing all of that. I think we talked about this when we had our preliminary conversation about teaching in the membership and being on the podcast. But my mom is also Visayan. So she's Waray. So she was born in Tacloban and then they moved to Manila when she was a teenager. So, Frances, we could have ancestors in common. Who knows?
because our mothers are from the same island. So I believe
Yeah.
my mom is from Leyden, but
Yeah. My mom's from Leyte. Yeah.
but it's just a different city. Yeah, you're on the Waray side. I'm in the Visaya side.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and also my husband and I are going to be traveling to the Philippines at the end of January. So we are flying into Cebu, doing a bunch of stuff in Cebu because there's tons to do. I heard there was just an earthquake there, so I'm like praying for everybody that was affected. That's awful. Um, Cebu is the first stop, and then we're going to Palawan, to El Nido, and then Coron. We're doing an overnight boat
It's,
camping tour.
yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll fly back to Cebu. So that's our trip. So it's like our honeymoon slash my ancestral reclamation trip that has been postponed for 5 years. I was actually supposed to go back to the Philippines with my mom in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know if it was about to all, erupted.
It's 2020.
Yeah.
The next year,
So
the Mount Taal, yeah.
okay, so yeah, the volcano erupted and then it was COVID and nobody was going anywhere. So it's finally happening. So I'm really, really excited to be traveling there with my husband who's never been to the Philippines. So it's going to be awesome.
I'm excited for you. How long are you going to be there for?
Like 3 weeks.
Oh, you're going to.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like you need at least 2 weeks just to get there and decompress, right? To recover from the travel and the time change. So, yeah, I'm excited. So, yeah, thank you for letting me share that. All right. Well, so tell me how you got to this place of being a psychotherapist. Obviously, you went through Layla Martin's program, the Vita program, which was formerly the Tantric Institute of Integrated Sexuality. That's how we met each other because we're both alumni from different years. But tell us a little bit about your journey from growing up in the Philippines in this very Catholic environment to really infusing the sex, love, and relationships work into your therapy.
Yeah. So when I moved here to Canada, I was 20 years old. I just finished university and I was raised pretty conservative. I was labeled a little bit of a rebel growing up because I do party a lot. I partied as young as like 15, going to
Hmm.
clubs and whatnot. There's no age limit there. As long as you look an adult, no ID check whatsoever. But I've always made sure that the way I behave outside is always within the parameters of what I was raised into, which is don't have sex before marriage, don't engage in promiscuous activity. So even though I party a lot and the assumption at home is I do have sex all the time, is that I just go there, dance, drink a little bit, and then go home. And I just like hanging out with my friends. And so the concept of dating in the Philippines is so foreign for a lot of people. What we do practice is more of a courtship.
Hmm.
So an example of this is when I was in university, I have a guy really apparently courting me for 2 semesters. And I didn't know. He would just randomly visit me at my grandmother's house and I'm not there. I go home, I go back to my mom's and hang out. House of my grandmother's behind my university. So it's just an easy geography situation. This guy apparently visits me every weekend, on top of the fact we see each other Monday to Friday because of school. Just want to hang out. I just want to see you. I was in the area. It's always like that. And for me, I was so oblivious. I'm like, oh, I don't know. And this friend of mine, he's very open about his dating life, his sex life. And for me, I just, whatever floats your boat. After 2 semesters, he's shifting major and he finally asked me if we have a chance because he's been courting me for 2 semesters now. And I was that oblivious because I guess I was really raised to build platonic relationships with people, whether it's like a girl or a boy, regardless of the gender. And I really established that sense energy among my friends, male or female. And so I was like, oh, I don't know. And so for me, courtship is common, but my mindset, I'm not really into courtship at that time because I don't see a future with you. I don't see any business going out with you. And I was like, what, 16, 17, 18 at that time. And so dating is not part of my goal because the idea is that you date after you finish university. And once you date, hopefully that's somebody you want to marry and then have kids. So in my mind, I was conditioned to like, okay, I can party, have fun, but I don't necessarily date. I just go out there, look at cute guys and whatnot, maybe perhaps make out with random men every once in a while, as long as it's safe. But that's pretty much it. And so when I moved here to Canada, leaving my comfort zone, I just finished university. I'm about to get a corporate job, climb the ladder. I move here and I'm like, oh my God, degrees not recognized. I'm nobody. Like, I used to be somebody. So it took me 3 years to integrate the idea of me living in Canada and putting myself out there. So by the time I hit the age of 23, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to perhaps date. And to be honest, at first I was afraid of dating because of all the shows that I watch on TV. If you don't give them what they want, they're gonna kill you, rape you, and whatnot. So that's like my
Goodness.
mindset of the North American dating at that time. And so I never really go out on date. And so when I finally did, I met my now husband, and he he's the type of guy that he there one bad take him out, sleep around, don't take anybody seriously. And I'm in a place where I'm not looking for anybody seriously, but I don't not looking to be a wine band vacuum.
Hmm. Hmm.
So when I was learning life skills, um, I was becoming a life skills facilitator at that time when I met him. So what ends up happening is I use what I learned to get him. Like I would say crazy things like, if you want to, if you want to be with me, you have to hold my hand when we walk. You have to open every goddamn door you see. I don't care what door, you're going to open that goddamn door. So what ends up happening is we end up dating. And I'm always skeptical. Is this guy for real? I know he just fools around. The last serious relationship he had is like 10 years before I met him. Like a lot of this skepticism. And then not even 1 year of our dating, we end up having sex. And he's the first guy I ever had slept with. And so for me, I really went into this shutdown of shame. And you would think the age of 23, and well, I'm 24 at that point, you would think I'm ready to do it, let's get it on. I'm late bloomer at this point. But I guess the mindset for me at that time is that I was raised to have sex with somebody that you know very well, and you see yourself marrying them, or at least you're already married to that person. But I'm giving myself some lenience in like, maybe not necessarily marry, maybe just like long enough to like reasonable to have sex. And so for me, when 6 months into relationship, we actually click. Like the chemistry is there. He knows how to hold me, like held my hands, because he knows it's my first. Like he really wants it to be perfect for me. So we did all the right things, I suppose, when trying to, to have sex with me the first time. But for me, I was just like went in an ultimate shock of like, what is this? Why did I end up having sex to a guy I barely know? We're only 6 months in together. So I spiraled from there. And so in the first 3 years of the relationship, I keep having chronic yeast infection and bacterial
Mhm.
vaginosis. And it's funny that despite all of this deep rooted shame, guilt in me, I am still in the relationship. I even give him an ultimatum that if you don't see yourself marrying me in 3 years, then let's break up because I don't want to waste time
Mhm.
and energy. And 3 years later, he proposed. I gave him my list, like, this is what I required of you if you want to marry me. And those 3 items, he checklist, he completed it. And so I'm like, shit, what's happening? And he did propose. And I said yes. But when you're in the moment, obviously you're going to say yes. But after all the butterflies happen, I'm like, shit, I'm not happy with my sex life. I was telling myself I did not wait so long to have a miserable sex life for the rest of my life.
Mhm.
I think before we got engaged, this is where I found Layla. And I was listening to one of her interviews in a business podcast that I was listening to. And whatever she said clicked. And so I started with the jade egg. And this is when I realized that I'm so shut down because I've never touched myself. The idea of self pleasure is like, oh, why?
Yeah.
Like, we have to do that. There's a lot of judgment around exploring myself, exploring my body, exploring my pleasure. And so when I finished the jade egg, and it took me 8 months to have the jade egg inside me,
Mhm.
finding it without no pressure. And so after that, when we got engaged, I'm still not satisfied with where I'm at. It feels like I haven't got the answers that I need. So I told him, you know what? I don't think that I can stick around here in Canada to be with you. So I think it was a very privileged moment at that time that I told him I'm going to leave and go back to the Philippines and figure things out on my own. And this is when I decided to do the specialization in love, sex, and relationship. And so the first chunk of the course, I did it all alone. I don't have any job. It's just me doing what I want, doing me, prioritizing me, just really exploring what it's like to finally put me first. Because growing up, the Filipino culture, you always have to think about somebody else, right? Like, you have to finish school because your parents paid so much money so you can go to university. You cannot fail in school. That's the mindset, like the collective mindset of you cannot fail because so many people sacrifice before you so you can get an education, right?
Mhm.
And so there's a lot of that. And told him, I love you and I want to marry you, but I don't know how successful we're going to be as
Mhm.
a married couple. And I'd rather figure this out now, who I am, my being, my conditioning, rather than figure it out when we're married and then we're having kids. And so I left for 7 months. And I think I did the most chaotic 7 months of my life because I have to figure out in this world of hustle and bustle, doing nothing, like, like not having any responsibilities, not having a job, no, there's a lot of pressure to produce results.
Yeah.
And I think for me at that time, it was 2018, it was hard. I tell people I had an early COVID, the nothingness.
Mhm.
I just have to figure myself out. And so in that 7 months, I discovered my sexuality, who I am, not just in the bedroom, but just as a person, how I put myself out there. Why do I attract the right people in my life. And what's the reason growing up in my teen years, I was never really in a position where men would take advantage of me. And I finally understood why is that? Like, what's the energy I'm giving out? How do I put myself out there in the world? And so when I came back and we got married 2 years later, I decided I want to become a psychotherapist just because I can read people from a mile away is
Mhm.
what I have learned. And
Yeah.
I have learned that I can see things that people don't see in their lives. And even my husband, sometimes my husband doesn't even have to say anything. I just like point it out and it's like, you have a point. And so that's kind of like my journey to specializing in this area because really it's coming from a need for me to understand what love is in a individual way, like my meaning of love, not what society tells me what love should be, what a relationship should be. I tell people relationship and sex is like talking about money. People expect you to kind of know what it is, but nobody really showed you how to navigate. And you pick up how you do relationship based on your conditioning growing up, based what you see in your parents, based what you see on other people. And for me, I have to figure out how do I want my relationship to look like. And the sex too. It's like nobody knows what sex is. Like I mean, for me, I don't know like what sex is and penetration and what does that look like? What does it feel in your body? And so specializing in those areas really is coming from a place of a need of rediscovering myself and who I am. And I finished university, I have a job. Now what? Like, do I just jump into a marriage and not understand these parts of myself and just expect me to just know it? I remember I was having a conversation with my husband because the conditioning or the ideology I was brought into, when you're exploring sex the first time, explore it with your partner. You do it together. Because my husband, although he's a Filipino, he's born and raised here in Canada, he said something interesting. He said, don't expect me to explore with you. You have to tell me what you want, and then I'll do it with you. And I'm like,
Mhm.
what? I have to figure it out. Why? You have to show me. And he's coming really from a place of solid foundation of who he is. So he can easily say that to me. But for me, I was crumbling inside. And I'm like, you need to show me how. And suddenly it's his responsibility to give me pleasure. But really, it's I need to know who I am first before I can start demanding that from him.
Frances, thank you for sharing that story. And thank you for sharing so openly and vulnerably. I did not grow up in the Philippines, but I grew up with a Filipino mother and surrounded by a lot of Filipino culture. So a lot of what you're saying does resonate with me. I know that there is a collective wound globally, but also in the Philippines around female sexuality, the body, female desire. And I love that you are so visible in this work and using your voice and your skills and your embodied wisdom to help other people heal this shame, which is such a dense energy and it can make you sick. You experienced physical illness as a result of the messages that you absorbed in childhood around sex, female sexuality, female bodies. Yeah, I just really appreciate you sharing this story with me. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for letting
Yeah,
me share everything.
of course. Of course. Well, so I am really excited for your workshop. So it's called What We Carry, What We Release. And this is happening on October 29th. And it's happening inside of my membership, which was the Ancestral Healing Collective. But since I've been getting certified in quantum soul guidance, galactic astrology, my work has become more galactic. And so the membership has become more galactic. So the new name of it is the Cosmic Awakening Circle. And we've been having new moon pleasure practices every month. Now I am calling them Starseed Pleasure Portals because I am going to be doing some galactic teachings inside of that event. And then every month we have a guest expert teacher, and Frances is our guest expert for October. So I'm really excited about this. What can you share with our community, with our viewers, about how to best prepare to participate in your workshop?
Well, really, the best way to prepare for that workshop is bring an open heart and open mind,
Mm-hmm.
a pen and a paper. Really, that simple. Nothing too extravagant, just really an open heart and open mind. And start being honest with yourself. I think honesty to self is so hard because there's a lot of mixed messages of what we should be doing, how we should be living. A lot of shoulds. There's start reframing that should mindset of like, maybe I could do that, but do I really need it? Do I have to? And let's remove that blaming language in our narrative. So when you go attend the workshop, having an open heart really is being your most honest self, and don't play into that blame game of what you should be. A pen and paper just kind of help you make your thoughts more tangible. It's better to hold something physically to manifest things in your life.
All right. Well, so I will put the link to the sales page for the workshop in the show notes. So if people are interested, want to learn more, they can use that link for sure. So I want to transition our conversation to some astrology now, because that has been a big part of my ancestral healing journey. It is also a big part of the membership. So before I give you this mini reading, I want to just share with you that the way I relate to astrology is that I work with it as a tool. It is not the rule, but it is a tool for understanding yourself as an energetic being, but also empowering yourself on your ancestral healing journey. So I would say it's a language and a framework that is very, very powerful. And I've used it in my own life. I've used it along my ancestral healing journey. And now I've expanded my ancestral healing work to include galactic aspects. So that means, in addition to your natal planets that are a part of our solar system, I'm also looking at how your natal planets are an aspect to different star systems, to nebulas, to black holes, and super cosmic points. And so the whole point of this is to really zoom out and feel into the vastness of your soul's journey, because our souls are ancient. And I know that not everybody's into this. I know that a lot of people are not into past lives on Earth, let alone past lives that are off planet, but I'm really into it. I have felt like a serious call to dive deep, and that's what I've been doing. So, with that, I want to start with having a chat about your big three, which would include your sun, moon, and your rising sign. And so, thank you for sending me your birth information. And thank you for allowing me to look at your chart, because it's a very intimate thing. I mean, we can see a lot. We can also see ancestral wounds, the gifts your ancestors have given you. We see your deepest wound in the chart. So, there's a lot. Your your sun is Gemini, and I am a Gemini rising, and I love being a Gemini. So the sun just speaks to where the sun was the day that you were born, and it shows us where you shine. It's your creative energy. It's what you sprinkle into everything that you do that makes you stand out from the 11 other astrological signs. And each sign is a spectrum of psycho-spiritual energy with a high expression and a low expression. So Gemini is mutable air, and air is our thoughts, our consciousness, our beliefs, our communication. And mutable means it's very changeable and adaptable. So the high expression of Gemini is curiosity, conversation, just being very good at speaking and writing. We love to consume information. So the low expression of Gemini is overthinking, over consuming information, and also just being too much in your head and not being in the body. So I would say healed Gemini is very mental, very social, very curious, very, very talkative, very intelligent, but it's grounded, right? Everything is grounded through the heart and the body. This is where you shine. And also, I noticed that you're the very high degrees of Gemini. I think you're 29 degrees Gemini. So you are shining basically at this very mystical degree. The 29th degree is like it's like the final exam for Gemini. Like, what does it really mean to be a Gemini in this life? So that's where you shine. And then your moon, it's interesting. Your moon and your rising sign are the same, and they are both air signs. So you're a Libra moon and you're a Libra rising. So this is different energy than Gemini. So Gemini is mutable air, Libra is cardinal air. What that means is that it's the initial thrust of air. So it's very, very powerful. So it's very intelligent, it's mental, but Libra is more about the energy of sharing and conversations and communications and partnerships and relationships. I would say Libra is also very social. So when I'm looking at your moon placement, this is telling me about your emotions, your emotional core, your emotional inheritance, including ancestral wounds and the gifts that they've given you. And it also shows us what you are responsible for giving to yourself in order to feel at home and balanced and centered in your own energy. So, Libra in the high expression is about harmony and peace and justice and creating beauty because it's ruled by the planet Venus, who is the goddess of love, money, and pleasure. And the low expression of Libra is people pleasing because you want to preserve harmony. And so you suppress your own needs and desires because you don't want to rock the boat. Also, the lower expression of Libra is superficiality. So the way this shows up with your rising sign depends on the time of day that you were born. And my belief is that we choose this on the other side. We decide we're going to come in at this time because that rising sign is the vehicle for your divine mission. So this is the energy that people first pick up on when they meet you and they don't know you. Okay. And also the people that you're meant to serve, they pick up on the Libra energies. So this is your perception of reality. This is the lens you see everything through. And so when people first meet you, they really pick up on the energy of Frances wants peace and harmony, right? She wants balance and justice. Libra has this appreciation for beauty as well. But there is this people pleasing side. So I want to know, I've been talking a lot. How is this landing for you? And please throw back anything at me that does not resonate, but tell me how is this resonating?
My oldest mentor, she's 80. She's the one who introduced me with coaching. And I call her like the OG. Before people in the mainstream learn what we know now in healing, she's done it. And I'm so grateful to learn from her. And she's into that right now. And so it's just really nice to hear. And when you say you're so into astrology, I use astrology in my dating decision.
Good.
Like I'm usually lean in towards Libra men,
Mm-hmm.
but then I end up with a Pisces. And because I have multiple personality, but everything really lands so well. You mentioned something, the lows of the Libra.
Yeah, low expression
I
of
feel
Libra,
like
yeah.
I have outgrown that at a very young age because I don't feel like I don't people please anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall a moment where I people please because I always am the problematic child in the household and I'm like couldn't care less. So, but everything like the rising Libra truly resonate with me. And I think that's why me and my husband connect so well because of, we want justice. It doesn't matter if you're my mother or not. If you're wrong, you're wrong. That's the mindset we both have. You resonate with that as well. So yeah, thank you for reading that. And so for people who's into dating, I strongly suggest look into your signs as well because for some reason this is helpful. Like when I go on a date, I ask them their Myers-Briggs and their astrology. Those are the two things I ask because I want to know what's my pattern and what's the letters or astrology I need to look out for.
Yeah, no, I think it is incredibly helpful when it comes to any type of relationship, whether it's a romantic partnership or even a business partnership. You need to be able to work together, right, and complement one another. All right. Well, so now I'm going to add a layer of galactic astrology on top of
Okay, great.
this. So buckle up here. So I looking at your chart through the lens of astrology, found some very fascinating connections that I think really illuminate your soul's journey. So, one of the first significant aspects that I saw was that your north node is in Capricorn and in the fourth house. So what that means is the north node represents the challenges that you must overcome in this life in order to reach your greatest potential. So it's basically your assignment. And if you're not doing your North Node, you're not going to be able to manifest, is the bottom line. And Capricorn is the sign of the worker bee, the person who gets shit done and climbs the highest heights, but also has an emotional side. But it's really about work and legacy. And it's so interesting. It's in the fourth house, which is the house of home, family, and ancestry. And it is conjunct the Lyra Nebula. Okay. So this is incredibly powerful because it speaks to your soul's evolutionary purpose in this life. So what I'm seeing is that this North Node in Capricorn in the fourth house is a fascinating spiritual challenge for you. You are being called to build something of lasting value, right? Build a legacy within the realm of home and family and ancestral connections. And it's unique because while Capricorn energy typically manifests in the public sphere, you're meant to apply like the discipline and structure of Capricorn to your inner foundation and your ancestral lineage work. And so when we have the North Node here in Capricorn in the fourth house, the South Node is directly opposite. And it just represents what you're bringing from past lives. It's gifts you're bringing, but also the lower expressions of that sign that you're releasing. And so your South Node is in Cancer. Okay, so that might be why you're picking up on some Cancerian energy. Your South Node is in Cancer in the 10th house of career and what you do in public. So it's really about the work you do in the world. And so what that shows me is that in your past lives, you've developed these Cancerian gifts of nurturing and emotional sensitivity and intuitive understanding in public roles. And so these are strengths that you're bringing forward. You're bringing the sensitivity, the nurturing, the loving energy of Cancer, which is also very psychic and intuitive because it's also a water sign. You're releasing the lower expressions of Cancer, which are emotional dependency, codependency, over nurturing, over giving to others at your own expense, and then seeking security through external validation in your career. So I feel this axis, the two ends of the spectrum, it shows that you're evolving in this lifetime from public nurturing to building structured healing spaces that transform family patterns. And the fourth house connection to your ancestors really makes your work very, very, very powerful because you're not just addressing personal patterns, but you're healing entire lineages. And then the Lyra connection, all right, because your North Node is conjunct the Lyra Nebula. What it suggests to me is that you are meant to embody resilience and leadership while guiding others through challenges. So your soul purpose involves teaching themes of survival, transformation, and spiritual evolution. And so you may have had some heavy times in your early life, but they've been there to catalyze your growth and your higher purpose. And then the other thing that I notice is that you have a number of aspects to the Orion star system in your chart, which is really significant. So, what this soul connection to the Orion star system tells me is that you have natural abilities in handling and resolving polarity conflicts. So it's like you have an innate understanding of the shadow side of humanity without being overly sensitive to it. So that helps you to navigate very complex human dynamics with a lot of wisdom. You also have some aspects to the star Arcturus, which is part of the Buddhist star system, which is very much related to energy healing and science. So this really aligns with your work as a psychotherapist. And so this combination really shows that you're able to bridge practical scientific approaches with more intuitive healing methods. So, overall, I feel like you're literally cosmically aligned to help others navigate their shadows while building new systems and structures that serve their highest good. I haven't done a deep dive into the chart. I would have to open the soul records to do that. But my feeling is that your soul has journeyed through experiences centered around caregiving and nurturing in your past lives. And now you're integrating that wisdom while stepping into public roles where you can impact more people with your gifts.
Well, I'll cut
So,
you off. For the listeners out there, I just want to let you know that Heather don't really know an intimate history of me. So you have narrowed down a lot of things going on in my life. So the rising, the north one, I have 2 kids under 3, and I'm about to get pregnant again.
my
And
gosh.
I feel like I'm really doing a great job as a mother as I navigate my career. And before that, I didn't know I was suffering from depression when I first moved here to Canada. And that was the heavy part that kind of that you were talking about, that I've experienced so much in
Mhm.
my life that brought me down to catalyze who I am today. Because as a result of that, I end up having stage 4 degenerative osteoarthritis. So everyone
Mm.
came here. But now I'm in a serious pain in a mercury winter. I have reversed that. Apart from all the work that I do is just go to Mexico every year for 2 weeks just to help me with my regression, but overall is good. In terms of my career, hit the nail on the transformation giving, because I have 2 parts in my work right now. On top of being a psychotherapist, helping couples work on their relationship. I'm helping women rediscover themselves, helping men to communicate their emotions and who they are as an emotional being. I also work with children with disabilities, so families with autistic children. I help parents navigate how their children behave. So I mean, you don't even know any of that, but I feel like you've covered all a summary of my life right now. And I was just texting my husband. Maybe we can really make it happen to 4 children, but I know it cannot be. It might be just 3. But I'm really into building families right now. I was talking, my therapist asked me one time, like, what does it mean for you to have kids? And I'm like, leaving a legacy. Some people have businesses. For me, knowing I leave humans that are productive members of society and contributing members of the world doing good, for me, is the legacy. So yeah, so thank you for reading all of that and capturing everything in one go in your reading. Damn, you're good.
Well, listen, I was just scratching the surface, honestly. I would love to give you a full reading at some point. So let's stay in touch about that. Thank you. Thank you for letting me do that. I have so much fun and I love seeing people's faces when I when I share this information. So thank you. Well, so Frances, if people want to learn more about you, if they want to work with you, where should they go to find out more?
So you can find me on Instagram, the Modern Life Coach. I may not look like I'm active, but please understand I have 2 kids under 3 and I
You're
have
busy.
another one on the way. And then I also have my website, themodernlifepsych.com. And then if you want to just directly message me, either do it in Instagram or email me at themodernlifepsych@gmail.
Amazing. You're pregnant right now?
Well, I think so. I haven't checked yet.
Okay, all right.
I
But you're
haven't checked.
definitely trying. You're definitely trying. My gosh, sending you so much love around that. Any child would be blessed to have you as a mom. That it's so fantastic. Well, so I have a final question that I ask all of my guests. What are the new cycles that you're starting in your lineages?
Well, the new cycles that I will be starting in my lineage is just playfulness, being fearless, an intimate knowing of who you are. Very important for me because without those three, I wouldn't end up in a marriage that I have today, a relationship with my mother and my sisters that I never thought I would have, a relationship to the people that I work with that I never thought it's a thing. So for me, faithfulness, being fearless, and knowing who you are is just something I would want to start in my.
Beautiful. Frances, this has been such a blessing and a gift to be in dialogue with you. Thank you so much. If you all are watching or listening and you want to participate in Frances's workshop, What We Carry, What We Release, it's happening October 29th. I will put the link to sign up in the show notes. Frances, you are amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sending you big hugs from Venice, California. This has been wonderful.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. All right, everybody. We will see you next time on the Cycle Starters podcast. Take care, everybody. Bye.